Have you ever found yourself tethered to an emotional storm, unable to break free from the weight of your attachments? The endless cycle of clinging, hoping, and hurting can feel inescapable, leaving you exhausted and disconnected from your sense of peace. You're not alone. Emotional attachment is a universal experience, but few understand how to transform it into a source of strength rather than suffering. The ancient Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, pondered these same struggles centuries ago. They sought to uncover the secret to emotional freedom, a life where peace and clarity are not dictated by the whims of external events, but are anchored deeply within. Their wisdom endures because it transcends time, offering profound insights into human nature and the path to inner liberation. In this video, we'll explore 10 transformative Stoic principles that will help you loosen the grip of emotional attachment. These are not abstract ideals meant for ivory towers or dusty bookshelves. They are practical, actionable habits designed to empower you daily. Why is emotional detachment so powerful? Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Detachment is not a surrender to apathy or cold indifference. It is a courageous act of reclaiming your power, of learning to find strength and contentment within yourself, no matter the chaos around you. Imagine navigating life's challenges without losing your balance and caring deeply for others while staying rooted in your sense of self. In this journey, you'll learn to see your emotions not as enemies but as guides. By understanding and practicing these Stoic habits, you'll begin to unravel the illusions that keep you tethered to pain. You'll reclaim your focus, redefine your priorities, and discover the unshakable peace that arises when you choose clarity over chaos, freedom over fear. Are you ready to step into this timeless wisdom and reclaim your emotional independence? Let's begin. Rule 1. The power of detachment. Have you ever felt like your emotions were no longer your own, as though someone else held the strings, pulling you in directions you never chose? Emotional attachment can feel like a subtle but relentless thief, robbing you of your peace, clarity, and autonomy. At first, attachment may seem like a connection, an extension of love or loyalty, but over time, it can bind you, tethering your sense of self to another's actions, moods, or validation. This is where the power of detachment reveals its liberating potential. Detachment, as the Stoics taught, is not a rejection of love or care. It is the recognition that your happiness and inner peace must never depend on forces beyond your control. Epictetus wisely observed, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but our judgment about them." This shift in perspective, this reframing of what truly matters, is the essence of Stoic detachment. Think of your emotions as a vast, intricate web. Every thread represents a connection, an attachment to something external, a person, an ideal, a memory, or even an imagined future. When one thread tightens too much, it strains the entire web, pulling you out of alignment. Detachment is not about cutting the web to shreds. It is about loosening the threads, allowing the web to expand naturally and without distortion. It means recentering yourself and rediscovering strength that resides not in clinging but in letting go. So, how do we practice detachment? Start by asking yourself, what am I genuinely holding on to, and why? Is it fear, loneliness, failure, or being seen as incomplete? Is it a need for validation and approval that feels fleeting and conditional? Identifying the root of your attachment is the first step in reclaiming your power. Next, begin to shift your focus inward. Instead of looking outward for reassurance or control, turn focus on thoughts, actions, and values. Detachment teaches us to care without clinging, to give without expecting, and to love without losing ourselves in the process. Imagine standing at the shore of a turbulent sea. The waves crash, threatening to pull you under. Detachment is not about stopping the waves. It's about learning to stand firm, unshaken, as the storm passes around you. When you embrace the power of detachment, you no longer live as a prisoner to life's unpredictable tides. You learn to rise above them, anchored in your strength and clarity. Detachment, as Seneca reminds us, is an act of bravery. He who is brave is free. By letting go of what you cannot control, you gain something infinitely more significant: the freedom to live fully, guided by wisdom and unshakable peace. Rule 2. Understanding attachment. Why do we hold so tightly to certain people, relationships, or ideals, even when they cause pain? What compels us to cling, often at the expense of our peace of mind? To understand emotional detachment, we must first confront the nature of attachment itself. At its core, attachment is not about love or loyalty. It is often rooted in fear and a misplaced sense of identity. The Stoics believe that much human suffering arises from our desire to control what is inherently uncontrollable. As Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This insight illuminates a critical truth. Attachment stems from a sense of lack, a belief that something external will complete us, validate us, or secure our happiness. Consider this. When we are overly attached to a person or outcome, we are not connecting with them as they are, but rather projecting our fears, desires, and expectations onto them. Attachment often masks inner insecurity, convincing us that our worth depends on the approval, love, or presence of another. It is the ego's way of seeking external validation, a desperate attempt to fill an internal void. Reflect on your own life. Have you ever felt that your happiness was tied to someone else's actions or opinions? That without their approval, you were somehow less? This illusion, the belief that we are incomplete alone, is a powerful trap. It closes our eyes to our intrinsic worth and distracts us from the truth. Everything we seek externally already exists within us. To untangle ourselves from attachment, we must first shine a light on its roots. Ask yourself, why am I so attached to this person, this relationship, or this outcome? What fear or unmet need is driving this attachment? The answers may be uncomfortable but necessary for clarity and freedom. The Stoics remind us that true strength comes from within, not the fleeting assurances of the outside world. Imagine standing in a forest, clinging tightly to a single tree. You are so focused on that one tree, its shade, its fruit, its shelter, that you fail to notice the vastness of the forest around you. Detachment does not mean abandoning the tree. It means stepping back, seeing it as part of a greater whole, and understanding that your existence is not confined to its shadow. When we detach, we are not withdrawing from life, but engaging with it more fully. We let go of the chains of dependency and embrace the freedom to love, connect, and act from a place of abundance rather than fear. This shift is not easy. It requires self-awareness and courage, but it is profoundly liberating. By understanding attachment, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop looking outward for what can only be found within, and in doing so, it unlocks the door to a life of clarity, resilience, and unshakable peace. Rule 3. The illusion of control. Have you ever found yourself agonizing over someone else's decisions, feeling that if you could just try harder, say the right thing, or do the right act, you could make them behave differently? This desperate clinging to control is a common struggle, yet it lies at the heart of much of our emotional suffering. The Stoics called this the illusion of control, and understanding it is a crucial step on the path to emotional detachment. Our desire for control stems from a natural but misguided attempt to protect ourselves from uncertainty. We believe that if we can influence others' actions or shape external outcomes, we can secure happiness or avoid pain. But as Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True freedom lies not in bending the world to our will, but in mastering our thoughts and responses. Imagine standing in a rainstorm, frantically pushing the clouds aside with your hands. The more you struggle, the more drenched you become. The illusion of control is like that storm, futile and exhausting. The Stoics teach us to stop fighting the rain and instead focus on what we can control. Finding shelter, enjoying the rhythm of the drops, or simply accepting the rain for what it is. Clinging to the illusion of control can lead to emotional entanglement. We place our happiness in the hands of others, believing that their actions dictate our worth. When they disappoint us, as humans inevitably do, we feel devastated, not because of their actions, but because of the false power we granted them. This misplaced authority over our emotions becomes a form of self-inflicted suffering. To dismantle this illusion, begin by separating what is within your control from what is not. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. You cannot dictate someone's feelings, choices, or behavior, but you can choose your response. You cannot guarantee the success of a relationship or project, but you can act with integrity and effort. Shifting your focus to your thoughts and actions frees you from the exhausting pursuit of control over the uncontrollable. Detaching from this illusion doesn't mean you stop caring about people or outcomes. Instead, it means you care deeply while maintaining your autonomy. It's the difference between offering someone a hand to steady them and allowing them to pull you into their chaos. When you stop trying to control others, you create space for healthier, more authentic connections rooted in mutual respect rather than dependency. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You reclaim your energy, peace, and power by letting go of the illusion of control. You learn to face life gracefully, knowing that while you cannot dictate the external, you hold complete dominion over your inner world. And in that truth lies profound freedom. Rule 4. Detachment in practice. Letting go is one of the hardest things we're asked to do. Whether it's releasing a relationship, an unmet expectation, or a version of ourselves that no longer serves us, detachment can feel like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether you'll fall or fly. But what if letting go is not a loss, but a necessary step towards something more significant? What if detachment, far from being an act of surrender, is an act of profound courage and clarity? The Stoics understood that detachment is not about becoming indifferent or emotionless. It's about engaging with life more fully, free from fear, neediness, or misplaced expectations. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When we let go of what we cannot control, we create space for growth, possibility, and a deeper connection to ourselves. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you grip it too tightly, it spills through your fingers, leaving you with nothing. If you have it lightly, you can feel its texture and weight without losing it. The same principle applies to our attachments. When we cling, we suffocate the very things we wish to preserve. Detachment allows us to experience life with open hands, appreciating what is while unafraid of what might pass. So, how do we put detachment into practice? Begin with awareness. Reflect on what you are clinging to. Is it a person, a role, or a specific outcome? Ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? Often, holding on is rooted in fear. Fear of change, loneliness, or uncertainty. Identifying this fear is the first step in loosening its grip. Next, practice shifting your focus from external outcomes to internal values. Instead of fixating on whether a relationship will last or whether a goal will be achieved, ask yourself, am I acting with integrity? Am I aligned with my principles? When you ground yourself in values rather than outcomes, you free yourself from the anxiety of things beyond your control. Detachment also requires trust, not in other people or circumstances, but in yourself. Trust that you are capable of navigating whatever life brings. Trust that your worth is not diminished by what you lose, but revealed by how you grow. When you let go of the need to control everything, you make room for new possibilities, connections, and strengths. As Seneca said, begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Detachment invites us to approach life with this mindset, not clinging to the past or worrying about the future, but embracing the present moment with clarity and courage. By practicing detachment, you are not giving up on life. You are finally beginning to live it. Rule 5. The path to happiness. Why does happiness often feel like a mirage, always out of reach? We chase it in relationships, possessions, and achievements. Yet the more we cling to these external sources, the more elusive true happiness becomes. The Stoics believe that happiness is not something to be pursued. It is something to be cultivated within. Epictetus wisely noted, "There is only one way to happiness, to cease worrying about things beyond the power of our will." According to Stoic philosophy, the path to happiness begins with understanding where our actual value lies. The opinions of others do not dictate our worth, the circumstances we face, or the fleeting pleasures of life. Instead, it is rooted in the character we build, the virtues we embody, and the peace we find aligning with our principles. In this sense, happiness is less about external conditions and more about internal clarity. Reflect momentarily. How often do we tether our sense of joy to external events? I'd be happy to have this job, relationship, and recognition. But what happens when these things are taken away or fail to meet our expectations? The happiness we thought we had vanished, leaving us in a cycle of longing and disappointment. The Stoics invite us to step off this treadmill by shifting our focus inward. True happiness arises when we detach from the illusion that it is something we must earn or find. It is already within us, waiting to be uncovered. Imagine a calm lake. Its surface may ripple with wind and weather, but its depths remain undisturbed. We tap into this unshakable stillness when we stop looking outward for happiness and start nurturing our inner world. How do we walk this path in practical terms? Start by embracing gratitude. Instead of fixating on what you lack, reflect on what you already have. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reminds us, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." Gratitude shifts your perspective, helping you see abundance where you once saw scarcity. Next, focus on what is within your control. You cannot guarantee that others will love you, that success will come, or that life will unfold as you hope. But you can control your actions, your effort, and your mindset. When you prioritize these over uncontrollable outcomes, you free yourself from the anxiety that so often clouds happiness. Finally, practice living in alignment with your values. External forces cannot shake a life rooted in integrity and virtue. As you walk this path, you'll find that happiness is no longer a fleeting emotion but a steady foundation, a sense of contentment and resilience that endures regardless of life's uncertainties. The Stoics teach us that the key to lasting happiness lies not in having more but in wanting less, not in controlling the external world but in mastering our inner one. By embracing this wisdom, you reclaim your joy, peace, and power to live a life that is truly your own. Rule 6. Embrace the present moment. How often do we allow the weight of the past or the uncertainty of the future to cloud our ability to live fully in the present? For many, life becomes a constant tug of war, regretting what has been or fearing what might be. Yet, the Stoics teach us that the present moment is the only place where life truly happens. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "Confine yourself to the present. You will find that it is enough." The present moment is a gift, but we often overlook it. Instead of appreciating the here and now, we dwell on past mistakes, replaying them like a broken record. Or we project ourselves into the future, spinning endless scenarios of worry or hope. Both habits pull us away from the present, robbing us of its peace and clarity. Consider this. The past is unchangeable, and the future is unknowable. Yet, we pour so much energy into trying to rewrite or control them, leaving little for the moment that matters most, the now. The Stoics saw this as a misuse of our mental and emotional resources. To embrace the present moment is to reclaim that energy and focus it where it can make the most difference, on the choices, actions, and experiences unfolding before us. Practicing presence is not about ignoring the lessons of the past or abandoning plans for the future. It is about grounding yourself in what you can influence today. Imagine walking a path through a dense forest. If you constantly look back over your shoulder, you'll stumble. If you fixate on the distant horizon, you'll miss the beauty of the trail beneath your feet. Living in the present means appreciating the journey step by step. One way to anchor yourself in the present is through mindfulness. Pay attention to the sensations, thoughts, and emotions you experience without judgment. Notice the details, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of your breath, the sounds around you. These small observations bring you back to the here and now, offering a sense of calm and clarity amidst life's noise. Gratitude is another powerful tool for embracing the moment. When you pause to reflect on what you have rather than your lack, you cultivate a sense of contentment that transcends time. As Epictetus said, "Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not." Gratitude shifts your focus, helping you see the richness of the present rather than the shadows of the past or future. Living in the present moment doesn't mean life becomes perfect or challenges-free. Instead, it means you meet those challenges with your full attention and presence rather than being weighed down by regrets or anxieties. You engage with life as it is, not as you wish it had been or fear it might become. By embracing the present, you step into the flow of life with grace and resilience. You allow yourself to experience joy and peace, not as distant goals but as truths available to you. The Stoics understood this deeply. The present moment is where we live, grow, and find the freedom to be simple. Rule 7. Reframe your thoughts. The way we think shapes the way we live. Thoughts are not passive. They are active forces that color our emotions, guide our actions, and ultimately define our reality. The Stoics understood this profoundly, teaching that by changing our perception of events, we can change our experience of life. As Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." To detach emotionally, we must learn to reframe our thoughts, turning negative patterns into empowering perspectives. Why is reframing so powerful? At its core, it challenges our stories. Stories that often exaggerate pain, inflate fear, and perpetuate attachment. Think about a time when you believed I couldn't go on without this person or I'd never recover from this setback. These thoughts are not objective truths, but interpretations born of fear and habit. Left unchallenged, they grow into beliefs that imprison us, dictating our emotions and actions. The Stoics encourage us to question these interpretations. Epictetus reminds us, "Men are disturbed not by things but by the views they take of them." When we learn to see situations differently, their power over us diminishes. A breakup is no longer the end of your happiness. It becomes a chance for growth. A rejection ceases to be a judgment of your worth and becomes an opportunity to redirect your energy. Reframing your thoughts begins with awareness. Pay attention to the inner dialogue during moments of attachment or distress. Are your thoughts painting a picture of helplessness or reinforcing dependency? Write them down. Seeing them on paper can help you recognize their distortions. Next, challenge these thoughts with reason. Ask yourself, is this thought proper? For example, if you think, "I'll never find happiness without this person," examine the evidence. Have there been times when you were happy before this person entered your life? Could happiness come from within, independent of external circumstances? This practice weakens the grip of negative beliefs and opens your mind to new, healthier narratives. Once you've questioned your old thoughts, replace them with empowering ones. Instead of being incomplete without them, reframe it as I am whole and capable of creating a fulfilling life. Instead of this failure defining me, say, this setback is a lesson that will strengthen me. These affirmations are not empty platitudes. They are conscious choices to reclaim your power and reshape your emotional landscape. Over time, reframing becomes second nature. Like a sculptor shaping marble, you begin to refine the raw material of your thoughts into something intentional and beautiful. Meditation and mindfulness can support this process, helping you observe your thoughts without judgment and redirect them with purpose. Reframing your thoughts is not about denying reality or ignoring pain. It's about seeing reality, stripped of fear and distortion, and choosing a perspective that serves your growth rather than hinders it. As you master this practice, you'll find that the storms of life lose their intensity. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. What once held you captive now sets you free. By reclaiming your mind, you reclaim your life. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. You have power over your thoughts, and through them, you have control over everything that truly matters. Rule 8. Set healthy boundaries. Have you ever felt drained by a relationship, as though the demands of others were consuming your energy, leaving little for yourself? Perhaps you've struggled to say no, fearing rejection or conflict. The truth is, without boundaries, our emotional and mental well-being becomes vulnerable, stretched thin by the expectations and behaviors of others. Setting healthy boundaries is not selfish, but an essential step towards self-respect and emotional detachment. The Stoics understood the importance of maintaining our inner sanctuary, a space untouched by the chaos of the external world. Epictetus reminds us, no one can harm you unless you consent. This wisdom underscores the necessity of boundaries. They are the invisible lines that protect our peace, ensuring that we are not subject to the whims or intrusions of others. But what are boundaries? They are not walls meant to shut people out. Instead, they are guidelines that define where you end and another person begins. They create a healthy balance, allowing you to give and connect with others without losing yourself. When you set boundaries, you communicate to the world that your time, energy, and emotional health are valuable and yours to manage. The first step in setting boundaries is self-awareness. Reflect on the areas where you feel stretched too thin or resentful. Do you often say yes when you want to say no? Do you tolerate behaviors that leave you feeling diminished or disrespected? Identifying these patterns is crucial to understanding where boundaries are needed. Next, communicate your boundaries clearly and calmly. This might initially feel uncomfortable, mainly if you're used to accommodating others. But remember, setting a boundary is not an act of aggression, but an expression of self-care. You might say, I need some time for myself right now, or I'm unable to take on this responsibility. These statements are not selfish. They are honest acknowledgments of your limits. Maintaining boundaries requires consistency. Others may resist or test your limits, especially if they are unaccustomed to you asserting them. Stand firm, not with anger, but with quiet confidence. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control others' reactions, only our own. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Upholding your boundaries is a practice of integrity, living in alignment with your values and priorities. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself, they are about creating space for growth. When you establish healthy limits, you free up energy to invest in what truly matters: your passions, your goals, and your personal development. You also teach others to respect and value you, fostering relationships built on mutual understanding rather than dependency. Setting boundaries is an act of courage and compassion for yourself and those around you. It allows you to engage with the world on your terms, maintaining your peace while offering your best to those you care about. In this way, boundaries are not barriers but bridges, connecting you to a life of balance, clarity, and emotional freedom. Rule 9. Engage in self-care. How often do we pause to tend to ourselves in our quest to meet the world's demands? For many, self-care feels like a luxury, something to prioritize only after everyone else's needs are met. Yet the Stoics, with their profound understanding of the human condition, recognize that true strength and resilience begin with caring for one's body, mind, and soul. As Seneca said, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." Self-care is about knowing when to step back, replenish, and protect the essence of who you are. Why is self-care so vital for emotional detachment? Because when we neglect ourselves, we unconsciously seek fulfillment from external sources, relationships, achievements, or possessions. We become tethered to others for validation or happiness, losing sight of our autonomy. By nurturing ourselves, we build an inner foundation so strong that we no longer depend on external factors to feel whole. Self-care begins with understanding your needs. Ask yourself, what energizes me? What calms me? What brings me joy? This is not selfish introspection. It is a necessary act of self-awareness. For some, self-care might mean physical activity, going for a run, practicing yoga, or simply walking in nature. For others, it may involve intellectual pursuits, creative hobbies, or moments of quiet reflection. A key element of self-care is mindfulness. The Stoics emphasize the importance of being present in all we do. Whether enjoying a meal, reading a book, or meditating, immerse yourself fully in the experience. Seneca reminds us, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Mindful self-care allows you to face life's challenges with clarity and calm, strengthening your resilience. Self-care is also about setting boundaries with your time and energy. Just as you would maintain a treasured garden, you must protect the space in your life for rest and renewal. This may mean saying no to demands that drain you or prioritizing solitude when you feel overwhelmed. When you respect your limits, you create the conditions for growth and balance. Moreover, self-care extends beyond the individual. It involves surrounding yourself with people who uplift and inspire you rather than those who deplete your energy. Seek relationships that reflect the Stoic ideals of mutual respect and shared values. A supportive community can be a source of strength, reminding you of your worth when you forget it yourself. Engaging in self-care is not about escaping responsibility or avoiding life's challenges. It is about equipping yourself to face them with grace and wisdom. When you prioritize your well-being, you gain the clarity to make decisions aligned with your values, the energy to pursue what matters, and the emotional stability to let go of attachments that no longer serve you. As you care for yourself, you honor the Stoic principle of living a life rooted in virtue and balance. This act of self-respect is not only transformative but essential, empowering you to navigate the world with the strength and freedom of a truly liberated soul. Rule 10. Practice gratitude. In a world often fixated on what's missing, how frequently do we pause to appreciate what we already have? Gratitude, one of the most transformative Stoic practices, shifts our focus from lack to abundance, from longing to contentment. It is not just an emotional response but a deliberate choice, a disciplined way of seeing the world. As the philosopher Epictetus wisely observed, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not but rejoices for those which he has." Gratitude helps us detach from unhealthy attachments by reframing our perspective. When we fixate on what we lack, a person, success, or material wealth, we create a sense of incompleteness that binds us to those desires. But when we consciously reflect on what is already present in our lives, we realize how much we must be thankful for. This realization does not diminish our ambitions or connections, but frees us from the desperate need to cling to them. Imagine waking up each day with a simple thought: I have enough. Enough love, enough opportunities, enough worth. This mindset doesn't suggest complacency but invites peace. It reminds us that while life is imperfect, it is full of small miracles, friendships, health, moments of beauty that often go unnoticed. Gratitude is the lens that reveals these treasures. Practicing gratitude is not complicated, but it does require consistency. Start with a daily ritual. Write down 3 things you are grateful for at the end of each day. They don't need to be grand gestures. Perhaps it's the warmth of the sun on your face, a meaningful conversation, or even the quiet strength you showed in a challenging moment. This practice trains your mind to seek the positive, even in difficult times. Gratitude also strengthens resilience. When faced with loss or hardship, dwelling on what's been taken from us can be tempting. But the Stoics teach us to focus on what remains. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." In this way, gratitude becomes a source of strength, grounding us in the reality of our blessings rather than the illusion of our losses. Beyond personal reflection, gratitude extends outward. Expressing thanks to those around you fosters connection and humility. It reminds us that we are not isolated beings but part of a greater whole, supported by the efforts and kindness of others. A simple thank you, sincerely given, can deepen relationships and nurture mutual respect. Gratitude doesn't erase challenges or eliminate desires, but reshapes our experience. It reminds us that fulfillment is not found in the endless pursuit of more, but in the recognition of enough. By cultivating gratitude, we loosen the grip of attachment, finding contentment not in what we hope to gain, but in what we already hold. The Stoics understood that life's most profound truths often lie in the most straightforward practices. Gratitude is one of these, a practice that aligns us with the present, frees us from the chains of want, and fills our hearts with quiet joy. When you choose gratitude, you choose freedom. And that, perhaps, is the greatest gift of all. Conclusion. Emotional detachment is not about turning away from life. It's about stepping into it fully, unburdened by the chains of unnecessary attachment. The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, have given us a map to navigate the complexities of human emotion, showing us how to reclaim our inner peace, strength, and clarity. By practicing these 10 principles, you are not just letting go of what holds you back. You are embracing the freedom to live with purpose, resilience, and authenticity. Remember, detachment does not mean indifference. It means loving without clinging, giving without expectation, and living without fear of loss. It means aligning your life with your values and focusing on what truly matters: your growth, your virtues, and your inner peace. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength is already within you. You take one step closer to a life of true emotional freedom whenever you choose clarity over chaos, self-respect over dependence, and wisdom over overreaction. If this video has inspired you or given you new insights, we encourage you to take the next step. Subscribe to our channel and join a community of seekers dedicated to exploring the wisdom of Stoicism, philosophy, and personal growth. We are building a space where ancient ideas meet modern lives, helping us live with more courage, clarity, and peace. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share your reflections in the comments below. Which principle resonated with you the most? And if you're not sure where to start, simply write, "Emotional freedom begins now." Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, the path to a liberated and meaningful life involves small, deliberate steps. You are already on your way. Let's continue walking it together. See you in the following video.